Tal vez la mayoría no lo sepa.
Perhaps most of you don't know this, but Anne has been part of the Ministry of Finance in France and other ministers, such as the Foreign Ministry in France. Without a doubt, Anne Gabriel, you have released your leadership. We are very thankful for your words, for your inspiration, for your presence here, and above all, to allow us to enjoy Women's Forum for Economy and Society in 2017. I'd also like to tell you that we have here with us a Mexican leader, a wonderful woman, Olga Sánchez Navarro. Olga is a precursor of women in the legal system. In her professional career, she was Minister of the Supreme Court of Justice from 1995 to 2015. Besides being a magistrate from the Higher Court of Mexico City in 1993 up until 1995. I'd also like to say that Olga is a woman of integrity and warmth. She has a great heart. Let's give her also a round of applause. Thank you, everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the invitation to participate in Women's Forum and to be here before all of you. I'd also like to thank our pianist, our mezzo-soprano, and of course the choir of children who gave us hope, who gave us a breath of fresh air for our soul to be able to start our work this morning. You don't know this, but Pepita Serrano, who is here this morning, is the head of the Sivam Foundation. These children are part of Sivam's choir, and the song that they sung was written by her. So thank you very much, Pepita. When I was invited to participate in this forum, I thought about what I would say to you in the scarce 8 minutes that I was given to speak to you. And because I saw that this was about creating a future through a woman's perspective, I decided to talk about what I've done throughout my whole life, which is to be a judge with a woman's perspective, to build with a woman's perspective, and to defend the rights of women. Very few years ago, only a few years ago, women's rights had not been recognized as human rights. Until recently, in my country, we had to ask our husbands for their permission to hire. We had to ask for their permission to begin a trial, such as an appeal, an amparo, which is a habeas corpus trial. We had to ask for their permission to do that. Until 1953, we didn't have a right to vote in my country. And I know, for instance, that in Switzerland, it wasn't until 1978. Today, I am writing in a journal, Milenio, about Hillary Clinton, and I said that one of the most impressive speeches that I have ever heard related to women's rights was given by her, and she ended up by saying women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights. Our voices had been silenced not only for decades, but for centuries. And if we analyze the Constitutional Assembly of 1917, because we're currently celebrating 100 years of the Mexican Constitution, you will see that in their debates, the Assembly decided not to grant women the right to vote because they said that women weren't ready to be part of public life and to make decisions as part of a public government. They claimed that we had to settle for making decisions simply in our private lives. Why? Our Constitution, our sex, our way of seeing life should only be limited to the private life. That's what they claimed. So we have only been recognized for very few years. We have been seen as subjects of right fully only recently, and not even in every country. But the hardest part is not to have progressive laws, progressive legislation that gives us the full enjoyment of our rights, but rather to break down gender stereotypes that still culturally prevail in our countries. Stereotypes that have been artificially built in order to keep us from making full exercise of our rights. Let me explain myself. When I reached the Mexican Supreme Court of Justice over 22 years ago, I realized that this vision of women as judges did not exist. There was no such thing as a gender perspective in order to rule. And so we started introducing a gender perspective. We started breaking down stereotypes. How many judgments I had to review were first instance judges practically said in their rulings that women had been raped because they had been dressed provocatively, because they liked to go out at night, because they were in bad company, or, as many said in Chihuahua, before the Inter-American Human Rights Court, when the Chihuahua prosecutor said, well, they were in bad company, they were bad women, they were provocative, and that is why they were raped. That is why they were murdered. That is why they were dismembered and thrown in the cotton fields. Those were the words that were written in the judgments. There was no gender perspective. They defended a stereotype that was created because unconsciously that's the way we have been raised. And you, young women, have currently the obligation to break down those stereotypes in order to move forward, everywhere in justice.
In the economy, in society in general, in your private life as mothers, you should break down those stereotypes and eliminate them. Here we have many businesswomen, politicians, scientists. Some of you that are also have also dedicated your lives to art and culture. Ana Gabriel just said something that I liked very much. She said that women need to have collaboration networks, and they need to have smart collaboration networks that are useful to them and that allow us to be more to have more participation, to have more power in the decision making of the public life, to have better top management positions. And we also have the obligation to drive younger women to participate in those areas and in those fields. Because the more women that participate in those fields, then society will change. It has been said that the participation of women in society will increase our power, and the engagement in society and it can be seen through the participation of women. And I am very pleased to see that there are many men among us here that are willing to help us increase our engagement. Without your support and without your collaboration, we would not have been able to get the laws and the advanced legislations that we have in our country. And the violence against women nowadays is a very sensitive topic in many of our countries. Currently, feminicide is a crime, and we also have a protocol to investigate feminicides that are based on gender perspective, because if we don't have gender perspective in all of the fields of political, social, and institutional life, and in the administration of justice, we will not be able to move forward and achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves. We need to have gender perspective in all of our legislations and to incorporate it into all of the social and economic aspects of our lives. Violence right now is rampant. We have physical, economic, political violence. And sometimes that violence is hidden, but it's underlying all of the issues in our lives. There was a politician that won a charge in the state of Oaxaca in a municipality. And in order to prevent her from exercising her position, she was tied to a tree. She was abused, and they did not allow her to take her rightful place until the police got involved. So violence is pervasive right now, and it is constantly present in our lives. Violence seems to be hidden, but there is also economic violence towards women. Last Saturday, I was asked to talk about the empowerment of women. And it was about, like in this forum, building a future through women's perspective. So I decided to talk about one of my resolutions in the Supreme Court. When they saw the title of my presentation, they couldn't believe it. They were in awe. Because this was a judgment that I issued about 15 years ago about rape among married couples. So they were astonished by this. And this was a forum about the empowerment of women. The main goal was to empower women and keep moving forward. And then they were very surprised that I had chosen that topic about rape in married couples. So they thought that married women were their husband's property. And they also thought that women did not have the right to self-determination when it came to their sexuality. And their duty was to have sexual relations with their husbands if they wanted to. And so women did not have the right to choose over their own bodies, and they were treated as if they were the property of their husband. So with that judgment, with that resolution, for the first time, the Mexican court established that women had sexual freedom within marriage, and they had the right to self-determination. And if that is not empowerment, then I wonder what empowerment is.
Muchas gracias por toda su atención.
Thank you for your attention. I have run out of time. I just told my friend Dr. Salazar that I was going to talk for 8 minutes, and she said that I could talk for 8 hours, but I only had 8 minutes available. So thank you and welcome to our country. Thank you.